A quick warning for everybody. This video is about a probable serial killer who committed heinous sex crimes. Some of the language used may be graphic. I wanted you to be aware of that before you watch because my intention isn't to further anyone's trauma or pain. Now, onto the story of the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray was born on November 6, 1939 in Belen, New Mexico to Cecil and Nettie Ray. He was the oldest of 3 children and had 2 younger sisters. The family was poor, so David ended up living with his maternal grandparents on their small ranch with his middle sister Peggy. David's grandmother died while he was very young, so his grandfather was the one who raised them. David was occasionally visited by his violent alcoholic father who beat him and gave him magazines depicting sadomasochistic pornography. David was timid as a teenager and was often bullied. At Mountain Air High School in Mountain Air, New Mexico, the students would make fun of him for his inability to speak to girls. He would also start to abuse drugs and alcohol. Ray's sexual fantasies of raping, torturing, and even murdering women developed during these teenage years. During this same time, Peggy discovered her brother's sadomasochistic drawings and pornographic photographs of different bondage acts. She didn't realize how serious his addiction to this lifestyle was at the time. After completing high school, David entered the United States Army as a general mechanic. He would receive an honorable discharge once his service was completed and continued his career as an auto mechanic. Ray would marry and divorce 4 times, having 2 children, including his accomplice, daughter Jessie Ray, who was born Glenda Jean Ray. In the city of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, on March 19, 1999, a 22-year-old woman named Cynthia Vigil was walking home through a parking lot. David Ray approached her dressed as a cop and told her she was under arrest for sex work. David put her in the back of his car and brought her to his $100,000 soundproof trailer in Elephant Butt Lake, New Mexico, which he nicknamed the Toy Box. He then chained her to a gynecologist table in the center of the trailer. Over the next 3 days, David raped and tortured Vigil with help from his girlfriend and accomplice Cindy Hendy. The two used whips, medical instruments, electric shock, and sexual devices to torture Cynthia. Before each torture session, Ray would play a cassette tape with a recording that detailed exactly what each woman was about to endure. The 30-minute video was a general advisory meant to intimidate and psychologically disarm them. On the cassette, Ray explained that Cynthia was to refer to him only as master and Cindy only as mistress. Vigil was also directed never to speak unless spoken to first. He then explained precisely how he would rape and torture her. Here are some excerpts from the cassette so you can understand what these poor women had to go through. Again, viewer warning for this graphic language. Now, I've already told you that you're going to be here a month or 2, or maybe 3 if you leave us turned off. But maybe we'll keep you indefinitely because it's just as much fun. We take 4 or 5 of the girls each year depending on our urges. Basically, I guess we're like predators. We're always looking. Occasionally, some sweet little thing we'll go and find by the side of the road walking, bicycling, shopping. And if it's not too risky, we'll grab her and bring her back to the playroom. If I killed every bitch we kidnapped, there'd be bodies strung all over the country. And besides, I don't like to kill a girl unless it's absolutely necessary. I've had plenty of bitches over the years, and I get off on mind games. In fact, when we get completely through with you, you're going to be drugged out real heavy with a combination of sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. You're going to be kept drugged for a couple of days before our pleasure. You won't remember this place, us, or what happened to you. You'll be dressed, sedated, and turned loose on some country road, bruised and sore all over, but that's not going to be less than a week or 2. On that 3rd day, when Ray was at work, Cindy left the keys to Cynthia's restraints on a table by mistake and left the room. Cynthia seized the opportunity. Hendy returned at that exact moment, saw her reaching for the keys, and struck her head with a lamp. She was trying to knock her out, but only managed to knock her down. Cynthia was able to unlock her hand chains and used a nearby ice pick to stab Cindy in the neck. After Cindy fell to the floor, Vigil managed to escape. She ran down the road wearing only an iron slave collar and padlocked chains. She knocked on the door of a nearby mobile home and the owner took her in. The neighbor called the police, and David and Cindy were arrested and taken into custody.
Yes, I'm calling for a young lady that ran into the house. She says she's just been raped. She's got her chain on her and everything. Send someone right away. This lady's naked and everything else. She said they've been holding her for 3 days.
Investigators began interrogating the couple about the events of the previous days. David and Cindy explained they had kidnapped Cynthia to help break her from her heroin addiction but did not sexually abuse or torture her. While this was happening, police had already obtained a warrant for David's home and made some disturbing discoveries. Inside Ray's toy box was a gynecologist-type table in the middle with a mirror mounted to the ceiling so his victims could see the torture happening to them. Whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, saws, and numerous sex toys were littered on the floor. The walls contained detailed diagrams showing different methods and techniques for inflicting pain. There was even a wooden contraption that was later determined to be a way for David to bend women over and immobilize them while he and his friends raped them. After further searching, the police discovered a videotape from 1996 showing a terrified woman being raped and tortured by Ray and his girlfriend. With the publicity surrounding the arrest, another victim named Angelica Montano came forward and said she had also been victimized by Ray. She claimed to have been drugged, raped, and tortured by David before being left on a highway out in the desert. She was found by police and reported the crime, but there had been no follow-up on her case. With 2 victims testifying to the crimes, police could press Hendy even harder, and she quickly folded. Cindy began telling everything she knew. Her confession led police to discover that David had been helped in the abductions and murders by his daughter Jessie Ray and friend Dennis Roy Yancey. Dennis was brought in for questioning and admitted to participating in the murder of Marie Parker. Parker was Dennis's ex-girlfriend and was abducted, drugged, and tortured for days by Ray and his daughter before Yancey strangled her to death in 1997. Police also had that unidentified woman on the videotape they found to identify. After releasing some details about the woman to the media, her ex-mother-in-law identified her as Kelly Garrett, a former friend of Jessie's. On July 24, 1996, Kelly Garrett decided to spend the night playing pool at a local spot called Raymond's Lounge with Jessie. She had been in a fight earlier that day with her husband and needed to blow off some steam. Jessie roofied Kelly's beer, placed a dog collar and leash on her neck, and brought her to her father's trailer. David then raped and tortured her for 2 days, keeping her roofied the entire time. After the 2 days, David slit her throat and dumped her on the side of the road, thinking she was dead. Miraculously, Garrett survived the encounter, but due to the effects of the drugs, she had limited recollection of what took place. Neither her husband nor the police believed her story. Her husband thought she cheated on him that night and filed for a divorce later that year. Many other women who had been kidnapped from Raymond's Lounge and tortured also came forward, and it was found that the manager of Raymond's Lounge was also an accomplice. A few members of law enforcement were also found to be accomplices as well. During the trial, Cynthia Vigil and Kelly Garrett testified against David, describing the horrible tortures they endured. Kelly told the court she did not want him to receive the death penalty because she thought that was too easy. She wanted him to endure her pain and feel what it was like to be locked up in prison. His first trial ended in a hung jury in Tierra Amarilla, New Mexico. His second trial occurred in the small town where he had been raised decades before. David Parker Ray was able to beat 2 of the cases brought against him, but the toy box killer was ultimately sentenced to 224 years in prison. He was convicted of numerous offenses involving the abduction and sexual torture of 3 women at his Elephant Butte Lake home. He died of a heart attack 8 months after sentencing, having been held for just 2.5 years while awaiting trial and retrial. Cindy Hendy, who testified against Ray, received a sentence of 36 years for her role in the crimes. The courts charged Jessie Ray with kidnapping and criminal sexual penetration. She pled no contest and received a 9-year sentence. 6 of those years were served on parole. She did 30 months total in prison. Dennis Roy Yancey was sentenced to 30 years in jail. In their investigation of David's trailer, the FBI found diaries written by Ray where he detailed the murder of at least 50 other women. Though Hendy and Yancey identified areas they believe Ray disposed of these bodies, police found no human remains in any of these locations. The many unidentified personal effects and jewelry found in his trailer also point to a more significant number of victims. However, it's unknown whether the meticulous notes he took were actual crimes or just vivid dreams he scribbled down. Despite the evidence, the authorities are still unable to create cases from them. In 2011, FBI spokesman Frank Fisher said, quote, "We're still getting good leads. As long as we're getting those leads and as long as the exposure in the press keeps generating interest in the case, we're going to keep investigating this." End quote. To this day, the FBI and police continue to work on some of the information contained in the diaries but still haven't found any bodies. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.